everybody. It's my turn. Welcome to What's Working with Cam Marston, brought to you by Regions. This is one of the special edition Tuesday and Thursday shows where our focus is helping small business stay afloat during the COVID economy. And I am continuing to sincerely enjoy this work, enjoy this research, enjoy these guests, etc. And I want to thank everybody for the big shout-outs we've been getting on social media. If you're interested in joining in, What's Working with Cam Marston on Instagram as well as Facebook. And thank you all so much for your support and drawing attention to the work that we're doing. Now, there's some businesses out there that we know of that are struggling. And I raised my hand right here. My work as I knew it, Eliminate, was just stopped about mid-March. And it's looking like it may breathe to life again sometime later in the summer. But right now, it's going slow, which has allowed me to jump into this radio stuff. And we're going to talk to somebody who is dealing with a lot of businesses that are indeed struggling. Buff Teague is with JLL. She's the managing director of JLL of the Gulf Coast. She represents a lot of retail clients, and goodness knows those folks have been struggling. We're going to talk to Buff about that. She's going to give us some of her expertise on what we're predicting to be, or some are predicting to be, a sudden surge in office vacancies due to these people working from home and not wanting to come back to work. And many employers saying, gosh, we're getting stuff done. There's really no reason to keep leasing so much square footage. We're going to end the lease or turn it over, something like that. There are also some businesses that we know are doing well, surprisingly well. Christmas every day. Brad Burton is the president and CEO of Cadence 120 Bicycles on Old Shell Road. It's been a bonanza for him as everybody's been at home wondering what to do. They're getting their bikes fixed. They're buying new bikes. They're driving all around. And in my neighborhood, I've noticed bikes going up and down the street all during the day. In the early mornings, it's the parents. Midday, it's kids. And late evening, it's families. And it's wonderful to see so many fathers out there on the bikes with their families and kids, and it's just great. In fact, I've thought myself, maybe I should get a bike, and then I think about compound fractures, and I stay away from the bikes. At 1:52 p.m., if you're a fan of the show, you'll know that we will overview the show and get the best points from both Buff and Brad, our guests on today's show, to understand what their best ideas are, what they're doing, and I will highlight them and lay them out for us at 1:52. Interestingly enough, I had talked to a guy who runs a school here in town, and he's talking about a surge in something called gap years. College students who are fearful that they can't get their full college experience are considering now a gap year. Now, this has been a thing, but it's currently becoming a bigger thing. If I can't go to school and get the full college experience and go to class and go to sports, because sports have been eliminated, I'm going to lay off college and do something else for a year until things get back to normal. The gap year. And the impact of the gap year on the matriculation of graduates into college as well as graduates from college into the workplace may be a point of discussion that we have going forward. I love the idea of a gap year. However, I've got a junior at home, and I talked to her, a high school junior, talked to her about it. She says, no, Dad, I don't much care for the idea of a gap year. In other words, I'm ready to get out of here. And, sweetheart, I agree. Next, and finally, we're going to wrap up today with some inspiration and some encouragement from our Grand Mayor, Sandy Stimpson. He was called not long ago in an article, the best mayor in the South. I tend to agree. And we're going to turn him over not to talk exactly about what's going on in the city of Mobile and all that kind of stuff, but I know the mayor has some strong and encouraging words based on the world he's seen, the people he's interacted with. And we're going to turn the microphone over to him at the tail end of this hour to say, Mayor, what do we need to do? What do we need to focus on going forward? Help us, cheer us up. Finally, as we go into break, I want to bring your attention to the conversation I had last night at the 6 p.m. show version of What's Working with Cam Marston with Fishing Chaos. John Callagaz and his team at Fishing Chaos are doing some brilliant work. And if you think data and fishing don't go together, listen to this show. Go find a Fishing Chaos podcast at what'sworkingcam.com and listen to that show. All right, after the break, we'll come back. Buff Teague. We're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. Buff Teague is the managing director for JLL for the Gulf Coast. JLL, if you don't know, is one of the nation's largest commercial realtors. Buff, I'm going to have you tell them exactly what it is that you do. I got online just prior to coming to the station here. Your company has 4.6 billion square feet in property and facilities management, and last year 37,500 leasing transactions. It's an extraordinary thing, Buff. Thank you, sir, for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you for having me, Cam. I appreciate being here.
All right, JLL is one of the largest companies of its type in the nation. You manage the general manager, or managing director, rather, for the Gulf Coast. Why don't we begin with an overview of what exactly JLL is, if people don't know, because it's going to give significance to the comments you're going to make.
Absolutely. So JLL is a global real estate firm. We have about 60,000 employees around the globe, and our office specifically focuses on retail, office, and industrial, as well as property management. We cover the Gulf Coast, so Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle, representing retail tenants, landlords on the retail and office and industrial side.
So I know retail is your specialty. You do have some expertise, or at least know enough of what's going on in the office space. Prior to, well, perhaps you heard in the introduction, I've had a number of conversations with colleagues of mine who are in a position of responsibility in their office environment. And they've said, we've sent people to work from home. The productivity is high. People are getting stuff done. And we're not sure we're going to ask them to come back, and we may cut some expenses by reducing office square foot. Now, I've asked a kind of a colleague from yours from a different company. He says, no, they're all coming back. They're all coming back. There will be no surplus of office space because they're all going to come back. People won't like this feeling for very long. What is your thought on that? What are you guys seeing from your point of view?
Well, I will say the pandemic has really forced a lot of people to utilize technology that they probably weren't using as much in the past. WebEx, Zoom. I was just learning about one called Loom yesterday, when you can send a video chat almost like a Snapchat to someone instead of typing them an email. And so, and you also think about taking out commute time. Think about our friends and colleagues that live somewhere in Atlanta and how much time they spend in the car getting to work. And I do think some employers are saying our employees are able to be more efficient and work more, not coming in the office. And there's some employees, marketing, IT, that you might not need to be paying for parking and have that dedicated office space. Maybe it's a rotating desk in the office. And so, I do see the major MSAs with employees that utilize, public transportation. We're gonna see them slowly coming back to the office. Maybe later this year. You think about getting on the subway, all the germs you have to go through to get on the subway, get off the subway. So there's a lot of people that aren't going to be coming back into the office until they feel safe. And those that are coming back into the office now, I see some of the larger employers only letting in 15 to 20% of their employees, closing the break rooms, and so closing the conference rooms. And so when you're coming back in the office, it's not just this big buzz and everybody's back in. So, employers are really allowing their employees to, you can see 3 days ago on Twitter, the Twitter CEO basically said indefinitely all of his employees will work from home, and they can come in if they feel safe, but they are allowed to work from home indefinitely. So I think it's going to depend on the market and the MSA, but I do foresee some offices downsizing and having some excess office space for sure.
So you're going to see some excess space, but you're not going to see just a surge of available office space and the price per square foot of office space dropping due to an oversurplus.
I think there's always going to be a need for office space. Companies want brand, they want to plant their flag. There needs to be a centralized location to meet clients and employees. But I do see maybe some offices that have larger footprints that are paying an inordinate amount of rent may think about downsizing some. So we'll see some excess space, but I don't think it'll be drastic.
Okay, good. Let's go to retail then. How are retailers doing with the reopening and the sales hit that they've had with store closures over the past 60 days?
It depends on the retailer, Cam, but most national brands, have been in discussions with landlords since March. Have been reaching out of, hey, I got to pay my employees. I'm closing my doors. Some landlords have offered free rent. Some are tacking it on to the end of the term or paying it back over time. I've seen some extreme cases with some retailers that are facing some pretty serious supply chain issues, that they may not be able to open their stores back up with proper inventory until November. And so they basically have been writing landlords letters saying, hey, we're not paying rent. I don't know when we're going to pay you rent again.
Yeah.
Good luck. And those are the extreme cases. But the common scenario really for the national brands that want to maintain the relationship with landlords is, hey, open dialogue, open book. Here's our problem. If you help us make a good solution here, we're going to be with you long term, and you're not going to have to spend a bunch of money re-tenanting our space. The mom and pops locally, landlords have really been forgiving about helping those guys out because they have a smaller checkbook to get through this. So that's been really promising to see landlords doing that.
Yeah. Are you involved in a lot of those conversations by the nature of your role? Do you stand between these people often and try to negotiate on both sides' behalf? So
since the pandemic, I've obviously been reaching out to my clients of how can I help? And it's not like, what's in it for me? Is there a fee for me? It's just more, let me help you get through this. And so some have engaged us to directly speak with landlords and work on, we call them blend and extends, where they're like maybe giving more lease term but reducing their rental rate. We do have that division within our company called lease restructuring for we do Chipotle, Starbucks, all of their work nationally, restructuring their deals. So it depends on the client. Some have attorneys that do it for them. But we do have landlords reaching out to us as well saying, hey, what are you seeing? How can we structure this to get through this? And then landlords ultimately have to reach out to their lenders because lenders are going to have to chip in at some point. The landlords can't be taking the hit.
Yeah. My sense, Buff, is that most of the people out there are very eager to accommodate, very eager to accept alternative plans. And everybody's really seeming, from my point of view, and I'm not in it like you are day to day, but seeming to be very willing to find a way. Is that the impression you see as well?
Absolutely. I mean, again, it costs landlords money to re-tenant a space. Now, sometimes you're going to have a tenant in there that might have been late on their payments. They want them out of there anyway. So this is going to be a time for them to go ahead and make that move. But for the most part, I think everybody has expressed the attitude of, hey, we're in this together. We're all in this together. Let's all find a solution, which it's been great to see.
Yeah. So what are you doing? I know you're renegotiating leases and things like that, but I'm curious of what your days are spent these days other than what you've told us already.
Yeah, no, for sure. Talking to my clients, we lease over 8 million square feet. So we already have tenants out there looking for space. A lot of the clients, the retailers that I represent, there's a handful of them that haven't missed a beat. I mean, we've had to do virtual real estate tours. We're still presenting letters of intent. We're getting leases signed. So, that's been promising that we haven't skipped a beat with those clients. But a lot of virtual happy hours. I've been introduced to people I haven't met. I was on the phone with Dollar General last week on a happy hour. Lots of happy hours to my colleagues. And then I've been spending quite a bit of time on the Peloton, Cam, my recent investment as of 8 weeks ago, which I didn't buy the stock, and I'm pretty upset with myself. So because I think they've had 1 million new subscribers over the past 60 days.
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
I've got a Peloton buddy, and we used to make fun of him for that, and because he was always posting his workouts and how many calories he burned, and he was sharing it with us, and we teased him relentlessly. And we admitted just about 10 days ago he's gotten the last laugh on this thing because he was an early adopter compared to the million that have signed up in the past month. Do you enjoy that thing?
Absolutely. My husband's on it. My mom has used it, and it's been great. They're doing virtual workouts from home. The instructors are, but it's kept me in great shape because I missed my gym. I missed Rashiki. So got to find a way to work out. So, and then you can hop on at any time, but it's been wonderful.
Let's go back to your expertise. Is there a type of space that you predict becoming hot? Are these co-working spaces suddenly going to become more in demand in the future due to any of this? What does your crystal ball show?
Watching WeWorks, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with WeWorks of having the co-working space. I don't know if people are going. I'm interested to see what happens with that. But as far as from a retail standpoint, I mean, they're still figuring out their footprints. I mean, some retailers are trying to figure out, especially the restaurants. Okay, to make our sales, we still need to have the same amount of people in our footprint, but how do we put dividers up in between booths? So I think a lot of that's going to depend on, how they lay their spaces out. I do feel that the popular shopping centers are going to be the forward-thinking landlords. I heard recently a landlord's looking at doing kind of like an Amazon locker, where if you want to go to a shopping center, let's say Springdale, for example, and you want to go to Bed Bath and Marshalls and Cost Plus, but you don't want to go in the stores and you want to order online, because we all know getting stuff mailed to us takes so long now. If you want to go online and order from those stores, all of it will be waiting for you in a locker. And I think retailers are going to want to align with those types of landlords so that if their foot traffic decreases, their sales still can remain where they need to be because their customers are still able to shop there.
Where do you think, Buff, you cover a big area, where is the most forward-thinking retail area in your footprint that you cover, and what are they doing? Are they already doing this that you've just mentioned, or are they slowly moving that way?
Probably the bigger MSAs. And there was already a ton of growth in Huntsville. I mean, there's so much going on up there, and they stole our baseball team.
Yeah.
And then Birmingham as well. Brookfield Properties is the landlord up there that owns the Galleria. And they're doing something very interesting up there. They're giving money to their tenants and saying, hey, we're going to take a non-controlling stake in your business. And these are for like the regional local guys. And they're saying, we're just going to give you this money because we believe in you. We want to get your doors back open. And we want you to be here. And so, that has been really interesting. So the larger landlords are really trying to find a way to make it work, which has been interesting. And yeah, you're going to see that in the bigger MSAs where you find those national tenants.
So let's go back to that. They're giving their tenants money. They're giving them. They're not forgiving debt. They're not forgiving rent. They're giving them money. And are they restricting how that gets spent in any way?
Well, some of them they have to forgive rent because, as you know, the malls have been closed, so they're not going to require their tenants to pay rent when they're closed or having to close. But in order for them to get back open, in addition to rent being forgiven because they weren't open, they're helping bridge the gap by giving them money, either to, if they have to re-tenant, I've got some clients that have to go put dividers up in space or kind of shift inventory around to create more space for their customers to come in. And, it's really interesting. I saw that in an article 2 days ago, and I thought, well, that's interesting because if you really have to believe in the concept to give them some money to invest in it, and it really almost locks in your tenant long term when you own part of their business. It's really smart.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
No kidding. Now, I'm going to ask you to put the crystal ball in front of you as well, and I'm going to give you $50 million, Buff, and you can build any space that you want, commercial, office, retail, knowing what you know about the economy today, the direction of things right now. What would you do?
Locally, I would build spec warehouse space. I can't tell you how much I hear all the time that there's a shortage of any sort of warehouse space. And I even have retail clients that need, short-term 30, 40, 50,000 square feet, and I can't find it for them, especially in our area, which is crazy. But it's very difficult. It has been in the past to find investors willing to build spec warehouse. So hopefully after this call, people are going to be inundated with requests for that. But then also nationally, I would look at aligning with essential businesses that are kind of more of a protected class, if you will, when a pandemic like this hits. So drive-through only concepts, medical, those are going to be good investments going forward because you're not going to have to fool with kind of messing with footprints. But those are going to be ones that I think are going to be a safe investment for sure.
I feel like as I drive around Mobile, there are things under construction in a commercial zone. It's either a bank or a medical facility in some way or another. I don't know how this town carries as many banks as it does. We're grateful that it does, but it's either bank or medical, and that seems to be the way forward. Is that what you're saying? By the way, coming to a close here, Buff. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Banks are really trying to put smaller footprints out there, so we're going to see excess space with their larger branches. But yeah, absolutely, banks and medical. I'm with you on that. I see a lot of that going on right now.
Banks, medical, and you said spec warehousing, huh? Not long-term leases on warehouses, but a place that I can temporarily put goods.
No, long-term.
Oh, long-term.
They will come. spec warehousing for long-term tenants.
You know, as I drive around town, I feel like I see places where that would work, but you're telling me I would never doubt you. It's not there.
No, so get me your check, Cam, and I'm going to make you a lot of money, okay?
That's right. I can get you a check. I'd be happy to get you a check. I'd bring it to your house. You got to sign that
check, though, Cam.
Yeah, and it would, exactly. It would vibrate as you went in front of a bank. It would begin to tremble. And so, Buff, if somebody's interested in anything you've said, how can they find you?
I'm on JLL's website, and you can email me, buff.teague@am.jll.com, and I'm usually always working, so I'm here to answer any questions you have.
When she's not on the Peloton, she's working, and perhaps working on the Peloton. Buff, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Folks, we'll be back in a minute with Brad Burton with Cadence Bicycles on Old Shell Road. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. During the break, I heard David Nelson, my friend at Braided River Brewery, in his commercial. Folks, that's a good beer, and I hesitate to tell you how I know this and know it well, but it's a good beer, and if you don't have anything to do, they're selling growlers out the door. Braided River Brewery, good stuff, and David knows what he's doing. On the line with me right now is Brad Burton. Brad is the president, 32 years of Cadence 120 Bicycles on Old Shell Road. My post office box is right across the street from their store. It's seldom that parking lot is empty. They're doing something all the time. Brad, thank you so much for your time, and welcome to What's Working.
Good afternoon, Cam.
So Christmas is usually a month a year. However, it seems like it's been Christmas since we've been sent home from your point of view. Is that about right?
It has been. People have seemed to turn to the bicycle in this pandemic with kind of been a bit of a perfect storm for us with the gyms being closed, all the kids out for school. Obviously, we've just had some really spectacular weather over the last several weeks. And then I think it's just kind of been feeding itself. We see, you go out in the afternoon, in the evening, you see people out walking and running and strolling, riding their bicycles, and it's kind of fed itself. I think more people see that. They kind of want to get involved with it, and it's kind of really just blown up cycling in the United States, actually, right now. It's not just me, but it's all over the country, actually.
Can you give me a sense of the numbers, Brad? What do your numbers look like? You don't want to tell me too much, but how you doing?
Last month we were up about over 200% from our previous year for April. So obviously huge growth for us, and it's really actually kind of the problem is now is managing that growth of how do we keep up with that kind of demand, which has been very challenging, not just locally but nationally as well. If anybody out there has tried to find a bicycle lately, there are actually no bicycles in the United States. The whole supply chain has really sucked everything up and waiting on some resupply from overseas.
I was told, speaking of which, a friend of mine's son was offered like $200 to drive the bike from Auburn to Savannah, Georgia, in order to get this guy a bike that he desperately needed, which is very, very unusual. He couldn't find one in Savannah and offered to pay this kid $200 to drive it to him in Savannah. I was going to ask you about inventory. Is there an end in sight? Do you see do you see your store being able to fill up with new bikes anytime soon?
Well, our manufacturer had kind of warned us that inventory was going to get tight back in February. So we've been ordering bikes for the last, 8-10 weeks, have quite a bit on back order as well. So we're still getting bicycles. And actually to that point of having somebody drive, I had a customer last week that drove from San Antonio, Texas to come get a bike from me because we were the closest place that had that particular model. And now I'm seeing it also. I have a lot of New Orleans people coming to me because we have inventory where a lot of stores are basically out, can't get any more inventory. And so this is going to be an issue going forward as well until kind of the supply can catch up with demand.
Now, are these people that are willing to make these drives looking for something very unique and specific? I can't imagine they're just a hobbyist bicycler. They're they're a bike enthusiast looking for something specific.
So that particular customer, he definitely was an enthusiast. I mean, he had a specific color, specific model. But a lot of people right now is just they're looking to get outside. They're looking to do something. People are tired of being cooped up inside. What I'm seeing is a lot of families, actually, a lot of couples actually out riding their bicycles together, families doing things together. And that's kind of my hope, actually. I think if there's some good that comes out of this is that, we're doing more things together as a family. I'm kind of calling it the back to basics movement where, have we overscheduled our kids? I see the kids out in the packs riding around the neighborhood, those kind of things. So, like I said, hopefully some good can come of this.
I'm wondering if there are people out there listening thinking, I've got some bikes in my garage that I haven't looked at for a while. They may not be an elite style of bike that these people are driving from San Antonio for, but I don't ride them. I'm not going to ride them. Are you taking and refurbishing used bikes right now?
So we do use bikes. Once again, there's a high demand for those for used bikes. We also do repair. I've had a lot of people that, bring the bike out of the garage that has been sitting back there for many years. And our service department is extremely busy right now. So it's really everything, not just new bike sales, but repair of bicycles that people want to get out and do stuff together.
Other than getting outside and bringing the family together, I see the bicyclers, particularly on the rural roads. They're in a line, and I want you to sell me on the benefits of this, what I'm going to call extreme biking. I know a handful of people that do this. They ride 700 miles before dawn, and they wear clothes that look like it's been spray painted on. And the reason I've stayed away from biking is I just don't like the look of the clothes, nor would they fit well. To give me an overview of the benefits of this stuff. Let's start with the aggressive bicycler who's doing it for health, and then finish with the family that's doing it together.
Sure. So, obviously at any level of anything you do, you have people that are extremely dedicated to it. For those people, they may do, they may be in a competition, or they're just an endurance athlete. The nice thing about the bicycle that a lot of people turn to is that it's very low impact. You can get very good cardio. You can burn a lot of calories very easily for an extended period of time, but much easier on your body. I get a lot of runners that can't run anymore because of knees. So they turn to the bicycle to kind of get that same fix that they get from running. But the beauty of the bicycle is that there's really no wrong or right about a bicycle. It's really what you want out of it. If that's, health and fitness from a physical side, I know I use my bicycle as much as a mental health vehicle as well as a physical health vehicle. But even just a leisurely cruise with the family. I mean, it's some family time together. It's a great thing to do together.
Yeah. Are there places around town where there is no uphill?
Well, actually, downtown, actually on, in the evening times or on a weekend, downtown has no hills, and it's fun to go explore a little bit on a bike down there.
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. I was having a beer with a neighbor in the yard last night, and he said they got bored. They got in their car on, I think it was a Saturday morning, and they drove downtown because they wanted to see what the desolate streets of downtown Mobile look like with no one there. He said he was disappointed because there were bikers everywhere. People were pedaling all around downtown, flat, maybe that's one of the reasons, but in families and groups in the middle of the road. He said he couldn't believe it, and he said, he told me, I think I'm going to join them next time.
And that's what we're seeing a lot of is that people are seeing people out that they recognize, hey, I can ride a bike in this area too. I mean, we're some of our parks, here close to us, we have Municipal Langham Park, which is a very underutilized park. I ride through there all the time. We have downtown, we have Medal of Honor Park. So there are places, the mayor has done a good job as far as trying to build the recreational facilities, sidewalks, those kind of things, to get people out, make them more active.
So I'm a 50-ish-year-old guy. I'm not a competitive biker. I'm not going to drive to San Antonio to get a bike, nor to New Orleans to get a bike. But if I'm thinking, what would this look like for me? How would I get into this? I haven't regularly ridden a bike since I was a child. Do you have like an adult starter bike that doesn't look embarrassing, with big fat tires or, cushions on it or something like that, something that I could get out there on and still be cool?
Yeah, we have a wide variety of different types of bikes. So what we try to do is match up what you're trying to accomplish, what are your goals, where are you going to ride, with the style of bicycle that we have available. And there's several different styles depending on the type of riding. So we really kind of customize that to each individual. Once again, it kind of goes back to no right or wrong. I ride my bike a certain way, and you certainly can ride your bike any way you would like. But we're here to make sure that we help you accomplish that.
Yeah. And do you rent them?
We do not do rental. There's not enough rental business currently here in Mobile proper, even though obviously as things have grown here over the last 8 weeks, it'll be something that we'll take a look at again. But there's not a huge influx of tourist-type customers in that would typically do a lot of rental stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious because, like I said, I haven't done anything like this since I was a child. What is the technology changes that are going on in bikes these days? What would surprise me?
Well, I think just overall of how much more comfortable the bikes are, especially coming more from a bike shop as opposed to from a mass merchant. Once again, that customization that we can deliver onto the bicycle to make you comfortable, which then will make you want to ride more. There's a lot of kind of technical things that just have kind of developed over the last, 30 years, which technology-wise have been great for bikes. But fundamentally, bikes have not changed in well over 100 years.
Yeah, I think the basic principle, I think I remember seeing there's some of the most energy-efficient modes of transportation around, ever.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
fantastic. Are there, tell people where they can find you real quick if they're interested in this.
Right. So we're at 5558 Old Shell Road. We're close to the intersection of Old Shell and University.
Yeah. And if they were to come in right now, would they see a barren sales floor, or you got something to offer them?
We actually have a very barren sales floor. We are selling bikes out of boxes that then we have to assemble. We are actually closed today because we're here working, trying to get our customers that have purchased new bikes taken care of. We're working as quick as we can. But, we have some samples that we can show people, and then just using our knowledge and what we have and what you're looking for, we can get you on a bike.
That sounds great. I'm thrilled for the success. I love the idea. Have you had families coming in together?
Absolutely. We definitely have had a lot of families, a lot of new customers, which is always what I'm really encouraged. Growing that pie, more people out there riding.
That's awesome. Brad Burton is the president for the past 32 years, I love it, Brad, of Cadence 120 Bicycles on Old Shell Road. There's some businesses that are struggling, and there's some businesses that are experiencing Christmas every day right now. Brad, thank you for your time. Folks, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, brought to you by Regions. When we come back, we'll have His Honor, Mayor Sandy Stimpson. First guest today was Buff Teague. Buff Teague is the managing director of JLL for the Gulf Coast. She was giving us an idea of what to expect from both commercial and retail space as a result of COVID. Are we going to be seeing office space vacate? Are we going to see retail space vacate? Her response, there are lots of people working with their clients and their tenants to what she called blend and extend, new ideas for keeping people safely in their workplace, making things work for them. Creative ideas for restructuring the office space, creative ideas for restructuring the retail space using the Amazon Dropbox idea, perhaps for retail organizations, particularly in malls. Some folks are doing well. Some retailers doing very well. They haven't missed a beat. We're wrong to think that everybody's struggling. Some haven't missed a beat, and we learned more about that with our next guest. And if I gave her a pile of money, she would build some spec warehouse space. We then got to Brad Burton with Cadence 120 bicycles. It's Christmas right now for them. They have so little inventory, they've had to close the door today to get all the staff inside to build new bikes because people were buying them as fast as they can. They're bikes for all of us, regardless of your age, regardless of your capabilities, and you can get them comfortable for you, not for the guy that leans forward the whole time, but comfortable for you. And that was encouraging to me. Now, let's wrap this up. On the line, I've got His Honor, Mayor Sandy Stimpson, to finish us up today with some inspiring, motivational, look-forward words. Mayor, thank you so much. Welcome to What's Working.
So, Cam, I appreciate you asking me to be on, but you're the king of motivational speaking, so I probably should have been listening to you the last several weeks. But, when I think about where we are today, and the things that drive us at City Hall and with the administration, it really comes down to the opportunity and the position that we find ourselves in is that we know that government is not meant to work quickly. I mean, just the way things are set up. So efficient government is somewhat of an oxymoron. But in a crisis situation, you're required to step outside the boundaries, don't break the law, but you've got to move quickly and expeditiously to make sure that you are responding to the crisis. And so as I really think back over, and it's not just the last 3 months now, as I think back over the last 6 years, the thing that gets us up every day and come down here to do the things we do is really what we see as the opportunity that we have for the city of Mobile. And the inspiration really comes for when you see individuals do things that maybe they would not have otherwise done, except for maybe we created an opportunity. Maybe we got a roadblock out of the way. Maybe we opened that door and closed a window for them, but they saw a business opportunity. They saw an opportunity to participate in the community that they hadn't seen otherwise. And so when you see those success stories, it makes you realize that God's put you here for a reason, and that reason is really to make the world a better place to live. And so being a part of government and the position that we find ourselves in administration is that we can do things that if you weren't in this position, you couldn't do. And I look around just in the last few months, when I see what Cressel Threadgill, in charge of the school system did, with how many meals he's feeding. I mean, he has not missed a lick on feeding 2 meals a day for all of his students. And I see what Brad Pitts has done to address the challenge of buying these kits for the PCR testing. And recently I had an opportunity to meet with Matt Lamont and Luke Peavy, who responded to a situation where they're worried about their employees maybe being depressed and down, and so they came up with this Boom and Zoom skit they do frequently, and try to liven their employees up. But my gosh, it inspires anybody that looks at it. Anyway, so we find ourselves, obviously with a lot of challenges before us. But we had challenges that came about after 9/11 when nobody was flying airplanes. We couldn't think of when they would be flying again, and when the BP oil spill was going to ruin the Gulf of Mexico. When were we going to eat shrimp again? When were we going to be able to go sport fishing again? And then after Katrina, I mean, just it goes on and on. So we're better off today, having done what we've done for the last 2.5, 3 months. We don't know exactly what tomorrow holds, but I guarantee you there will be people in this community, and the community, we're going to come out of this very strong.
I think so too, Mr. Mayor. I think so too. I've seen resilience. I've seen an attitude of success at all costs. I've seen almost hand in hand with that attitudes of generosity, of support, of encouragement, of compassion. And I really sincerely hope, and I said this back in March, and I still believe it to be true, we must come out of this changed. And there can be negative change and there can be positive change. And we must come out of this changed positively. And I can imagine you with the minutia that you must deal with in your role could get bogged down in that. But those stories of those people you just mentioned are the same ones that motivate and inspire me, and those are the ones we've got to look for. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for your willingness to be on with us today. I truly appreciate the work you do.
Hey, Cam, thank you for what you do. Let's go get them.
Let's go get them. Let's finish with that. Folks, What's Working is brought to you by Regions. I'm Cam Marston. We'll have a couple other shows for you next week. I found an epidemiologist out of Tulane University that's willing to go on record with us. We'll have her on next week. You're listening to What's Working. Have a good weekend, everybody.